Hey guys, with Lost Caverns of Ixalan wrapping up in regards to reveals, I thought I'd go through 6 different commanders that I am incredibly excited to build decks around. These are some of my favorite choices, so I'd love to hear from you guys what your favorite choices are. And then also make sure you do subscribe to the channel because, I'm going to be trying to do making some funky decks with these cards. So I'm excited to kind of go through it with you guys. So the first one here is Ojo Axol. Honestly, looks like a very interesting card in regards to whenever you deal combat damage with him, you're then going to be able to reveal cards from your library and be able to put one of them into the battlefield. The thing that I love about both Ojo Axol and all the other, gods that were kind of came out here is that when they die, they're going to transform into a land. And then you've got the option of, transforming them back in. So there's no kind of, putting them over into your commander zone when they die or anything like that. You're able to just keep them on the field, transform them into a land, use the land up for a bit until you've got, like this one here, only if you control 10 or more permanents and only as a sorcery. So once you've got 10 or more permanents, you're able to transform him back. So that's very interesting to kind of see that these cool like legendaries that don't like that you can run as your commanders, but you don't need to wait until put them back, run them back with the command attacks or anything. We've got Ojo Axol. Wow, that's a confusing one to whenever you deal non-combat damage, you're going to basically be able to deal damage equal to his power instead. So if it's less than his power, say you deal 1 non-combat damage, say you use like, a lightning bolt or something like that, and then you've buffed him up to the, a decent kind of power with a whole bunch of equipment or anything like that, then you're able to deal equal to whatever his power is instead. So you can do some really funky stuff with this, where you can eventually just be able to kind of, one-shot people by buffing him up a lot. Worst case scenario, they've got like a way to be able to block you. You've got trample to start with, and then also being able to deal this damage equal to whatever it is. Again, he's another one of the gods too, so worst case scenario, he happens to die, he's going to be able to transform into the Temple of Power, be able to give you some mana, and then eventually you're going to be able to switch him back. So there's going to be some very interesting decks that you can build around him. It kind of reminds me of the one like Tyrannid that's able to deal additional damage whenever you deal 1 damage exactly. There's some really cool, interesting stuff that you can do there. We've got Xavier Sal. Now, one of the things that I was looking at with him is being able to remove these counters. First of all, you're able to remove like the finality counters that are coming in as like, a new thing that they've kind of added in. I don't know how many of them you're going to be able to put into a deck with him, but you can also like remove like the counters from like cumulative upkeep or something like that, like being able to remove those. Then you can populate from there, be able to create some cool different fungus kind of decks around him as well, and then be able to sacrifice to be able to proliferate as well, to be able to chuck up some counters that you like onto your things as well. So being able to remove these counters is very interesting. I'll be very interested to see what kind of funky stuff people do with him and be able to kind of bring him into a few very interesting decks there. All right, we've got, wow, this one's even more confusing. Zolotayok, the Smiling Flood. This is the big salamander serpent god. Well, he's not god, but he's a huge salamander. I love in the art here how you can see like some tiny little like buildings and stuff down there. So whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you're going to be able to put a flood counter on, and then you're going to be able to untap anything that has counters on it. Now, keep in mind that it's not just untapping anything with, flood counters on it, but you can use, obviously, these flood counters to make all of your lands into islands to start with, and then make them all be able to untap at the end of your end step. So you can, have all your mana up ready for, counterspelling or whatever you need to do on your enemy's turn, making sure that, you don't get board wiped or anything. But, in addition to that, it's every time you attack, you're going to be able to kind of spread out those flood tokens onto all of your lands there. Pantlaza is one that I kind of talked about a little bit before, but being able to discover, being able to essentially, like, you know, cascade kind of thing, whenever you play a card is going to be very interesting, kind of bring out some very interesting cards from your deck. Being able to exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land with that mana value or less. So given the fact that it's based off your character's toughness, you know, a 4 mana or less whenever you play him is going to be cool. But then, you know, once you've got some of the bigger dinosaurs, you can kind of keep going up and eventually kind of bring in some really cool stuff. He looks like a very interesting deck to kind of build around. Obviously, he comes with a precon, and I pre-ordered that precon for myself today. However, you know, there's going to be a lot of changes that I can potentially do here to be able to bring him in faster. And when you combine him with like the new like hunting velociraptors or something, then you're going to be able to constantly bring in so much stuff to be able to continue on this kind of cascading, bringing in cards from exile and everything. And then finally, we've got the Sovereign Oken. Being able to double every +1/+1. So for each time he attacks with power greater than the character's base power, put a number of +1/+1 characters on that creature equal to the difference. So if you've got like a you know, 3 power, and it's got 3 +1/+1, so it's 6 power in total, then you're going to be able to put another 3 +1/+1s whenever you attack, whenever he attacks. So you can technically do this prior to, you know, being able to deal damage and everything like that, because it's when it attacks, not whenever it deals damage. So you can chuck that on and then be able to buff up everyone. I love that he's got a little hat too. That is a little hat right there. Oh man, that's really cool. The art of this one's just really cool. But either way, Sovereign Oken looks like a very interesting build. So those are my choices there. A couple of the different gods there. We've got Xavier Sal to be able to remove those counters, as well as being able to sacrifice and then proliferate from there. We've got the Smiling Flood, we've got Pantlaza, and then we've got Sovereign Oken. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, which ones you're looking forward to building. Hope you guys had a great day. Goodbye.